MMA Rants and Raves, Luke Rockhold versus Chris Weidman 2 for the UFC Middleweight Championship of the World. Guys, let's talk about this fight. You know what, I was very impressed with Luke Rockhold's performance. And when I say I'm impressed, is that he is a huge middleweight. When you're that big, trying to squeeze into a 185-pound frame, let me tell you something, that is a challenge. I mean, you know, talk about fitting 2 pounds of bologna in a 1 pound bag, you know something? I mean, this guy has a tremendous amount of cardio and is a great athlete, comes in really strong and big in a 185-pound frame. I mean, when I watch this guy, he doesn't seem to get tired. And you know how important cardio is for an MMA fighter. I mean, you see it time and time again. And if you watch that last fight, you know what I really assessed it up with? You know how I assessed that fight? I assessed that fight of Rockhold winning by cardio. That was the win. He won by cardio. You just saw Weidman's energy level go straight down. I mean, he was real strong in the first round. He was maintaining some of his strength in the second round. In the third round, it just went all downhill. And it's been a problem for him. I remember in the Machida fight, you could see that he was strong during most of the fight. At the end, he started to fade. He's too big. Weidman is a monstrously big 185-pounder. A man that size should not weigh 185 pounds. He should weigh well over 200 pounds. His walk-around weight may be, who knows, 220, 230. I would even think at light heavyweight, he would have to cut weight. He's just too big. And I think it's a mistake for him to stay at middleweight. Despite all his successes, you would say, like, what mistake? He became a world champion. Defeated Anderson Silva, right? And then defeated him a second time. And then defended his belt. So you would think, like, why would I say that? Well, if you notice, he's very strong early in fights. It could work out for him, despite what he has to do to his body. It's a very unhealthy thing to do. If you notice, his most dominant victories came when he ended fights early. The fight against Machida, he started to get into trouble at the end of that fight because he was losing his energy. If you notice, his most dominant wins are early in fights. That's when he's strong, his cardio is still there, but after all the weight cutting, it takes a toll on him. So I think Weidman is making a mistake by taking this fight. If he wants to fight Rockhold, let them do it at light heavyweight. Now, of course, Rockhold is the middleweight champion, but Weidman is no middleweight, and he couldn't put Rockhold away. See, that's the key. If he was able to put Rockhold away early, yeah, it would work out for him like most of his victories that he had beforehand. But if he has to fight a guy like this, who's also huge, I don't even know how Rockhold makes 185. That's a very big guy. But not only he does it, he has great cardio. He can easily fight a light heavyweight. The difference between the two fighters is that Rockhold can make the weight, have the cardio, and Weidman can't. He has to be able to win this fight early. He couldn't put Rockhold away. He couldn't do it. He had a strong first round, but Rockhold was still hanging out. And he got 5 rounds. That's not good for Weidman. If anything, maybe he could have somehow survived the third round if it was a 3-round fight. And maybe somehow it would be a closer decision if he can fight the fight in a different way. But he has to pace himself more. And that's very difficult to do when you're fighting a guy who's aggressive. You can't just pace yourself the entire fight. It's 5 rounds. So against a lot of the middleweights, sure, Weidman stylistically is a very big problem. But when you're fighting a guy like Rockhold, who has that cardio in such a big frame, who's also very talented, it's a very big problem. Personally, I think Weidman would be a great fit for light heavyweight. I think he can give Cormier a lot of problems because he's so well-rounded. Who's more well-rounded than Chris Weidman? I mean, the guy has explosive power. He has those elbows, punches, the really high-level wrestling, the jiu-jitsu. I mean, he's good just about everywhere. And think about what a great fight. I mean, talk about him against Cormier. Wow, that would be a great fight in light heavyweight. And he has a lot of other good fights that he can take. I think he is light heavyweight. I think he should fight at light heavyweight. I think middleweight is I don't even think it's healthy. But I think against Rockhold, it's going to be a very big problem if he can't put Rockhold away early. He has to try to do anything he possibly can to put him away early, because if Rockhold is hanging out there, you get into the third round, fourth round, Rockhold is going to take the fight over. So I'm going to go with Luke Rockhold to win this fight. I would like to know what you think about the fight. Please leave your comments, please subscribe, please like up this video, and thank you for tuning in.